As we've come to expect from the Poco line, the new Poco M3 phone will probably dominate in its price range, which in this case is the lower end. The Poco M3 version that comes with 4GB of RAM and 64GB of storage should go for around $180, while the 128GB variant should cost $20 more. As with other Xiaomi phones, the 64GB version uses the UFS 2.1, while the 128GB variant uses the UFS 2.2 storage solution. So, what does Poco M3 offer for less than $200 that the competition doesn't? To simply put it, it offers a lot. We need to be realistic though and lower our expectations in this price range because you can get a screen with a high refresh rate, a zoom camera, and amazing gaming performance, but you do get just about everything else. The engineers designed the Poco M3 to offer more than competition in every aspect where it is realistically possible. So as far as the chipset goes, the Poco M3 uses an 11nm Snapdragon 662, which is limited by 4GB of RAM, though the internal storage can be expanded with the micro SD card that has its own dedicated slot. This chipset, although not a champion in terms of energy efficiency, has a fairly good performance even for games. 4 A73 cores run at 2 GHz, while the 4 slower A53 cores operate at 1.8 GHz. So a good chipset, enough internal memory, and a decent graphics, it all sounds very good on paper. Add a 6000 mAh battery in the mix, and you will not be reaching for the charger for up to 2 to 3 days, so it's clear what the Poco M3 is going for. Fast charging at 18 watts is supported, and the charger you get in the package is a standard Xiaomi one rated at 22.5 watts. Charging from 0 to 100 takes about 3 hours, while a half an hour charging gets you about 25%, which is quite enough to get you through the day of work. Given the battery capacity, these results are quite expected. The screen has identical characteristics as the 6.53-inch Redmi Note 9T, with slightly lower brightness, which can be annoying on a sunny day. While we were taking photos during the day, we could not see almost anything on the screen, so we had to snap the photo blindly and then find some shade to see how the photo actually turned out. Still, keep in mind that this phone costs under $200. The screen has a front camera located in the middle of the top of the screen in the form of a teardrop notch and an excellent density of 395 pixels per inch for one phone in this category. It comes with a plastic screen protector already on, underneath which is a Gorilla Glass 3-layer. Colors look natural right out of the box, but it is possible to additionally adjust the screen settings in the system options. The screen is completely flat with a slight rounded frame that follows the shape of the screen and fits into the phone chassis, which wraps around the back and all 4 sides. It is interesting that the Poco M3 uses soft plastic with a leather texture that, in addition to looking nice, is also very pleasant to touch and allows for easy maintenance. The impressively sized camera housing is visually extended to a slightly rounded glass rectangular element on the back, dominated by the silver Poco logo. The 3 cameras are placed near the left, while the logo is centered to the right edge. With so many phones in this class looking the same, we welcome the step forward that Poco engineers made. They managed to change the conventional look in a very elegant way and offer a slightly different looking phone than we are used to having. What we also did not expect in this price range are stereo speakers. And we're not talking about the main speaker at the bottom or the headset at the top, but 2 actual speakers on either side that play separate channels. It is nice to see that there is also room for both infrared port and the 3.5mm port, as well as the FM radio chip. The side power button doubles as the fingerprint sensor, and yes, you can choose whether the sensor is constantly active or only when you press the button. This way, you can avoid unwanted accidental unlocking when you take the phone out of your pocket or bag. The volume is regulated with a single 2-way key, and the triple card slot is located on the left side near the top of the phone. The top and bottom are fairly flat, while the sides are curved, which allows the phone to sit nicely in the hand with or without the case. The silicone case that comes on the phone is the same type you get on other Xiaomi phones in this price range, which fits quite nicely with the phone and is a little harder to put on and take off, which is good for the phone, but not very convenient if you need to take it off often. The USB-C port has its own silicone cap on the case to protect it because the phone has no protection against water and dust. We will note that as with other Poco phones, the M3 uses the Poco version of the MIUI 12 OS, which works solidly, but I must admit that this time during testing, we did notice some unexplained freezing, lag, and stuttering, which was not consistent with the overall operation of this phone. As we were testing the Redmi Note 9T 5G and Poco M3 at the same time, which are very similar in many specs, including the OS, the Redmi Note 9T, which is over $100 more expensive, did not have these problems and worked much faster and more fluidly. Whether this is an issue with the particular unit we got or something that the software update can fix, I'm not entirely sure because it seems that the Snapdragon 662 should not be the cause of this. The camera system is exactly the same as on the Redmi Note 9T. There's a 48 megapixel main camera followed by two 2 megapixel sensors, one macro and one depth sensor. As with the Redmi model, the macro camera requires a lot of light and position around the object you want to capture until you get a sharp image. As soon as the light is insufficient, you will get a lot of noise, which is very noticeable in low-resolution images. The main camera is similar to the one on the Note 9T, but as you know, the information that its sensor receives is passed through the image signal processor, or the ISP, which is an integral part of the chipset. Snapdragon has been dominating this field for some time, so the images produced by the Poco M3 for its class are better than those with the Note 9T. There is no pronounced sharpening, and in 12 megapixel photos, you can really see all the benefits of merging adjacent pixels. The images are sharp and detailed, though the dynamic range is at the mediocre level. The colors are a bit more vivid than you can see with the naked eye, and the noise reduction is good enough not to be noticed. The real advantages of the Snapdragon ISP can be seen in the night photos, which are really much better than the phone with a similar combination of sensors and lenses. Night images do not excel in their quality, but the inclusion of the night mode significantly improves things. Blurry edges become sharp, and shadows and the darkest parts of the frame become more pronounced, significantly improving the quality of photos. Of course, additional processing does result in more visible noise, but we definitely recommend using the night mode whenever the conditions require it. Limiting video to 1080p at 30 FPS is the biggest disappointment on this phone because apart from the lack of 4K, it is also not possible to even record at 60 FPS. The video itself is of average quality with good color reproduction and mediocre dynamic range that causes the loss of a lot of darkest and brightest detail, so we can't praise the video quality that this phone delivers. The selfie camera is an 8 megapixel and f2.1. The quality is mediocre and the phone needs a little time to evaluate the brightness of the frame well. Sometimes you will get darker or lighter images than you initially wanted, so you will need to be patient while shooting until you find the best angle. Color reproduction is good and there's a portrait mode that will blur your background along with an occasional strand of hair, piece of clothing, or a finger that the photo may confuse for a background. When it comes to connections, the Poco M3, despite the category in which it belongs, is equipped with a dual-band Wi-Fi 5 wireless connection, Bluetooth 5.0, an infrared port, and an FM radio. It seems that Xiaomi engineers decided to cut the cost by not including NFC, so you can't forget about paying by phone and quickly pairing with other devices. Although NFC does not seem like an important item to many, it is used much more than we are aware of, for many things ranging from paying for tickets in public transportation to quickly reading blood sugar levels from bracelets worn by diabetics, so think carefully about whether you will miss it or not. The Poco M3 supports USB OTG, so it's possible to attach peripherals or USB-C flash drives to it. Due to a large battery, reverse charging is also supported, provided that you have the appropriate cable and you want to help a friend in need. The market competition in which both Xiaomi and Realme fight fiercely for every slice of the pie has brought us some really fantastic phones at very affordable prices. For less than $200, the Poco M3 is in fact an X3 version of the lower price class. The large screen, good camera, and excellent battery life are the main advantages of this phone compared to the competitors. The fast UFS 2.2 data storage gives M3 an advantage over other models we tested in this price range. The real drawbacks are the NFC, or the lack of it, 1080p video, and unusual performance hiccups that we hope to be solved by a software update because the hardware is absolutely up to the task. But then again, with Poco M3's good design, true stereo speakers, and versatility, it is difficult to find a phone in this price bracket that can compete. Thank you for watching another Bench House review, this time featuring the latest Poco M3 from Xiaomi's lineup. If you liked our video and would like to see a lot more content like this, consider subscribing to our channel and stay tuned for more videos. My name is Marco, you're watching Bench House, and I will see you next time.